Welcome, my friends. I am Jiun, and this is Libremer channel. And today, it's the first chapter of the book of Tobit. I'm very excited. I'm very happy, and I hope that you will enjoy this fascinating story. Before I forget, I have to say that I'm reading from the Christian Community Bible, which is the Catholic Pastoral Edition. I have two versions of this Bible. One is in English and the other is in Spanish. For me, the version in English, or this version in English, is easier. So I will be using this, and I'm also using the Catholic Jews Bible to get some footnotes. I will leave the links if you want to get this specific Bible, this specific book of the Bible, which is available on internet, by the way. Another thing that I will be using the Lectio Divina, which is a way to read the Bible, and this is reading, meditating, praying, and contemplating. And then if you want, you can add another stage, which is action, taking what you have learned from the Bible into action. And I will probably mispronounce some words, especially names, so sorry in advance. And one more thing that I forgot to mention in the introduction is that in some way I'm following the example of my friend Ramsey from Rayathon, and he's reading the Bible also. He's reading the Psalms, so if you want to check his channel, you can do it. I will leave the links also in the description of the video. So I think I have said all before starting. So okay, let's start with the first chapter. They are in total of 14, right? Yes. So this is a very interesting story, fascinating story, and I hope that you will enjoy it. So let's start. I will start with a little prayer, and it says, "Lord, open my lips, and my mouth will proclaim your praise. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen." Let's start. Tobit, chapter 1, the good example of Tobit. This is the story of Tobit, son of Tobiel, son of Ananiel, son of Adonel, son of Gabael, of the race of Asiel, of the tribe of Naphtali. In the days of Shalmaneser, king of Assyria, Tobit was deported from Tisbe, which is to the south of Kedesh of Naphtali in Galilee, above Asher. I, Tobit, have walked in the ways of truth and justice all the days of my life. I have given many alms to my brethren and to those of my countrymen who were deported with me to Nineveh, a city in the country of the Assyrians. When I was a young man in my country, the land of Israel, all the tribe of my father Naphtali broke away from the family of David in Jerusalem. This was, however, the city chosen among all the tribes of Israel to be the place of sacrifice for all the tribes, and where the temple, the house of God the Most High, had been built and consecrated for all generations forever. All tribes which had separated, including the tribe of Naphtali, my father, sacrificed to the calf Baal, which Jeroboam, king of Israel, had set up at Dan in the hills of Galilee. I alone often went to Jerusalem for the feasts, as is ordered for all the people of Israel by an everlasting decree. I went with the first fruits and tithes of my crop, and with the first shearing of my sheep. I gave these for the altar to the priests, sons of Aaron. I gave a tithe of the grain the wine, the olives, the pomegranates, the figs, and the other fruits to the Levites who officiated in Jerusalem. I sold the second tithe every 6 years and went to distribute the money in Jerusalem. I gave the third tithe to the orphans and widows and to the pagans converts who have joined the Israelites. I gave them every 3 years, and we ate according to the rules which had been laid down on this matter in the law of Moses, and according to the recommendations made by Deborah, my father's mother, for my father had left me an orphan. When I reached manhood, I married Anna of the race of our forefathers, and she bore me a son, Tobias. When I was taken to the city of Nineveh as a prisoner, all my relatives and those of our family ate the pagans' food, but I watched over myself so as not to eat it, because I remembered God with all my heart. The Most High let me be esteemed by Shalmaneser, and I became his purchaser. I used to go to Media to make purchases for him until he died. One day I left on deposit with Gabael, brother of Gabriel, at Rages in Media, a sack containing 10 talents of silver. When Shalmaneser died, his son Sennacherib became king in his place. In his time, the highways of Media were in a state of insurrection, so that I could no longer go to Media. In the days of Shalmaneser, I gave many alms to my kinsmen. I gave my bread to those who were hungry, my garments to those who were naked, and if I saw anyone of my tribe dead, and his body thrown over the ramparts of Nineveh, I would bury him. I buried secretly those whom King Sennacherib killed on returning from Judea in the days when he was punished by the King of Heaven because of the blasphemies which he had uttered. In his anger he slew a great number of Jews. The king looked for their bodies but could not find them. One of the inhabitants of Nineveh went and told the king that I had buried them, so I went into hiding. Then I learned that they were looking for me to put me to death. I was afraid and fled to a distance. All my goods were confiscated, and nothing was left to me that was not taken for the royal treasury, except Anna my wife and Tobias my son. But only 40 days had passed when Sennacherib was killed by his 2 sons. They fled to Mount Ararat, and his son Esarhaddon became king in Sennacherib's place. Esarhaddon appointed Ahikar, the son of my brother Anael, over all the administration. Ahikar intervened on my behalf, and I returned to Nineveh. My nephew Ahikar was head of the cupbearers, keeper of the seals, administrator, and accountant. Esarhaddon made him second only to myself. Okay, that's the first chapter of Tobit, and let's check some passages which are very interesting. So the story is about Tobit, right? And Tobit, if we see, comes from the tribe of Naphtali. So in the days of Shalmaneser, which is the king of Assyria, he was deported, and he's starting to live in Nineveh. One thing that is interesting is that this part of the book is written in first person. It's Tobit, the one telling the story. But when we start reading about Sarah, Sarah is in third person. So yeah, this is the story of Tobit, and he's the one telling us what happened to him. He, as we can see, he's a very good Jewish, and if we pay attention to these details, he's always doing the right things, right? He's giving alms, and not only that, he was giving to the poor, to the people who need it. So he was doing that while the rest of his family members, or the rest of the people coming from his own tribe, they broke away. I mean, they didn't continue doing what they were supposed to do. For instance, one thing was they had to go to Jerusalem, to the temple, but in the case of the rest of the tribe of Naphtali, they were doing sacrifices to Baal, which is considered a pagan god, and God didn't like that. I don't remember well, but I think in those days they were even sacrificing children to Baal. So of course, for our God, he didn't like that these people were sacrificing and following an image, right, a calf. So but we noticed that Tobit continue following the rules, right? He was given the first fruits, the tithe. He was offering to the altar. So in here there is a special. I mean, they are putting a lot of emphasis, special emphasis, in how he helps people. He's giving to the orphans. He's giving to the widows, who were the most needed in those days, right? And even to the pagans who converted to the Jewish religion. And so he was always very strict to the rule, to follow what God said, right? To the law of Moses. And even following the word of his mom, right? Deborah, because his father passed away. Maybe this is one of the reasons why he was always concerned about other people like orphan, because he was orphan himself. So then we noticed that when he became older, he got married with Anna, which is I think who belongs to the same tribe of Naphtali, and they got a son, Tobias. So these are very important characters. I mean, we know that Tobit will be the main character, but Anna and Tobias will play an important part. So he was taken as a prisoner, right? So they were exiled into Syria, and they had to live in this place where they don't follow the rule of God. So the relatives, they starting to eat pagan food. As far as I know, they cannot eat pork, for instance. So, but they are starting to follow what the people in Nineveh, right, were doing. But we see that Tobit was always correct, always doing the right thing. And in those days, he was the purchaser of the king, Shalmaneser, right? So I think he was in some way in charge of the money. So he used to go to Media Medea, and I don't know how to pronounce the correct word, but he was going in there and he was buying things and bringing them back, I think, to Nineveh, right? And doing so, he left money in there, right? He left a deposit with Gabriel, which is brother Gabriel, and I think he's a relative, if I'm not wrong, or maybe just a friend. Yeah. So he left money in there, and 10 talents is a lot of money. But after the king died, right, his son Sennacherib became king in his place, and he was not a good king. He was very bad, actually. So in those days, he couldn't come back to Media to get his money back, and this king was, I think he wanted to conquer Israel, but he couldn't. That's why the King of Heaven, which is God, didn't allow him, and he couldn't do it. So when he came back, he was kind of mad with the Jewish people, and so started to kill them. And he was throwing the bodies over the walls of Nineveh. But Tobit was very concerned. Even if he didn't know these dead people, he was concerned to bury them, and he was doing that in secretly, because what I understand is that the king Sennacherib wanted to use them as an example. So they were leaving the bodies, but Tobit was buried them, but there is always someone, right, who told the king, and because of that he has to run away. And yeah, so he lost everything because the king obviously is mad with Tobit, and he has to, Tobit has to run away. He lost everything, all his money, his house, except for his wife and his son. But this is the judge, right? That after 40 days, Sennacherib was killed by his own sons, and they ran away. And one of his sons, I don't know if it's one of them, one of the two, or another one, Esarhaddon, he became a king. So, and he appointed Ahikar as the one in charge of the administration. And this is important because Ahikar is the son of the brother of Tobit. So because of that, Ahikar intervened on behalf, right, of Tobit, and he can come back. Ahikar is considered to be a hero in the past, and it's funny in some way that they use his name to connect it with Tobit, or that they use this story of Tobit to connect it with this ancient hero. So we see that at the beginning, Tobit doesn't have he has a nice life, he has money, he has a good job, but because he follows the law of God, he get into problem. So we notice, and I think this is if you have to meditate about this part, I would say that what calls my attention is that above all the things he has to do as a Jewish person, he put emphasis in the neighbor. in people who need the most, like orphans, widows, dead people, even their own family members or people who belong to his own tribe. And this is very important because we see that he's doing the right things, and because of that he get into problems. And this is the just the starting point. We will see that things get a bit more complicated, but yeah, I have to emphasize this, that Tobit was a very good person, a correct and rightful person, and because of that he starts getting into problems. Well, we will see what's going to happen with him. Yeah, we have to consider this, like, what can we do in our life that in some way we follow the lifestyle of Tobit. It could be a challenge because most of the time when we are trying to do the right thing, we know that some people, and sometimes many people, don't like that, because that's the way that things are done nowadays, which are not the right way. So yeah, so this is the first chapter of Tobit. I hope that I read it with few mistakes in the pronunciation, but I hope that you enjoyed the first chapter of this book, and there are more things coming. So yeah, until next week, because I'm planning to do one chapter a week. So until next week, and let's go by thinking, how can we portray or follow the example of Tobit? In which way we can be more of a good neighbor than just a neighbor. So that's it. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.